Alright guys, what is going on? As some of my Instagram followers know, I was out yesterday filming a oyster catch and cook, which would have made kind of a fun video. And if you are following me on Instagram, then you also know that the boat we were on sank. And it just sank. So all of my camera gear was on that boat. I saved this camera and it doesn't work anymore. So I went from Nikon Coolpix L340 to a Canon ELPH 180 that I went and picked up because luckily I have a monthly budget, and I maneuvered some things around. I was going to get an awesome drone and Holystone F181, which would have been perfect. It has the altitude control, the headless mode, the return to home feature, and it would have made some great videos, but I needed another camera, so I had to cancel that order and pick that Canon up. So that's what I'm filming on right now. Hopefully the audio and video is good on it. I've heard some pretty awesome things about it. But so what happened was we were out there and I was getting some decent shots on. I was basically just getting my B-roll. We started filming collecting the oysters. There were no oysters still alive. They were all cracked open and dead. And once we realized that and it was getting dark, we were like, alright, we better head home. We started heading home, got caught up on a couple sandbars, no big deal. I just got out, we all got out and we pushed. And then as I was up front getting some B-roll footage to possibly use in a different video, I hear my buddy Fulton in the back say, "Shit, we're sinking." And I turn around and he's getting up to jump out of the boat. And I jumped out of the boat and I started swimming. Then I was about to turn back around and get my rods and my camera gear when I hear Fulton saying, "Save me, I'm drowning." So I couldn't get my camera gear and Fulton. I don't know where his life jacket went, but he was drowning. So I was able to grab the Nikon, which is a paperweight now, and I had to help Fulton to shore, which was about 100 feet away. So, and that sounds simple, but that was doing it while saving someone is it's a pain. So then we were on the island. If you want to Google it, we were at Cumberland Island in Georgia, and we were stuck there. And I was barefoot at the time because I had to kick off my shoes. So yeah, and unfortunately Cumberland Island is basically an island made up of one giant oyster bed. So I was barefoot walking on an oyster bed. We walked maybe 100 feet, and then my other buddy Max was with us. I had just met him that day. He started walking ahead because he's a lot lighter than Bubba and myself, because we're big guys. He wasn't too big, and he had his waders on still. Somehow he swam all the way there with waders on, and he walked ahead of us. We're all yelling for help, and then I see a clear patch with no oysters on it, and I'm thinking, cool, just a sand pit, a sand patch, I should say. So I go to step in it, and instantly I was up to my chest in sand and mud. It was mud, and we were in a sinkhole, and I remained calm. Bubba was stuck too. I think he was stuck up to like his knees or something, and we were stuck in this sand hole for about a half hour, and that's when the tide started coming in. So we were in a bit of an issue, and Max was separated from us at this time, which you shouldn't do if you're in a survival situation. So he was able to actually flag down a kayaker. Why there's a kayaker out there, I don't know, but he flagged him down. And while we were still stuck in the sand pit or the sinkhole, whatever you want to call it, the kayaker called the police and gave them our GPS location. Now the thing about our location is we were on Cumberland Island, which is right across from the naval base that I'm stationed at, and we could see the naval base's lights, and we could like see what was going on, and which we weren't out there trying to do. We were just trying to collect oysters. We ended so we thought, and so he told us in about a half hour the police will have someone out here to help us, and we were like, cool. And Fulton had his watch on, which was waterproof, thankfully, and he noted the time, and we sat there and struggled to get out of the sand pit while Max was 150 feet away from us. So Bubba eventually got out because he was only up to his knees, and then he came over to help me, and there was no solid ground. It was just mud, and my leg was completely stuck down there. Sinkholes have a way of sucking you in. So it was like it was in a vacuum. And the leg that was actually really stuck is my bad leg, and the ankle, knee, and hip. There's issues with all of those joints in that leg. I have the doctors think there's some missing cartilage in my knee. My IT band's messed up. I dislocated my ankle earlier 2016, so that wasn't a good situation, and I had to use Bubba came over. His hands were so muddy and my hands were so muddy we couldn't lock hands to pull me out, so I had him just put all his weight on one leg, and I would wrap my arm around it and use that to pull me up. But that was extremely painful because that was my bad leg, and I was like, my body was up against these oyster beds, and if you've never been on an oyster bed, they're basically knives. It hurt. I got totally destroyed. There are cuts all up and down my body, and it was brutal. But after, I think we were stuck in that sand pit for about 45 minutes, and I got out of the sand pit, but then I was stuck on oyster beds barefoot in shorts and a t-shirt, and I couldn't do anything but kind of like clear out a spot of big oysters and sit down, because how bad my feet were already cut up. My feet are destroyed. It hurts to walk right now, and that was and during the time there was salt water on them, there was mud on them, all sorts of things, and it was pretty brutal, but the adrenaline was still rushing, so I pushed through it, and we sat there and we yelled for help. Even though the kayaker had already called for the police, we still yelled for help, and about another half hour later, so all in all we've been stranded for about 2 hours, is when we saw the Rangers boat come up to rescue us. But this entire time the Navy base had spotlights going because the police notified the Navy base. So they had the spotlights going, and the spotlight would hit us and we'd start screaming and waving, but they couldn't see us. And that's because we all weren't thinking, and we all wore dark clothing, and we didn't have our life jackets with us on that little island, and we had nothing really to signal anyone with. I saved the camera because I was hoping my flash would help a lot, but it wouldn't turn on. The temporary, the rechargeable batteries got fried. I'm hoping that maybe the camera's salvageable, hopefully, but we'll have to see. That was my idea behind saving the L340. It wasn't just because I wanted my camera, it's because it had a flash on it, which would have helped. So that didn't work. My action cameras are at the bottom of the river. But anyways, so that's when we saw the State Ranger boat come up, and at the same time the State Ranger boat was coming up, then the Navy base sent one of their boats, Shore Patrol, to come over to us, and they like met at the same time, and the state rangers waved off the shore patrol, and we got on the boat and we rowed in.